Oh, okay. So I had it on the wrong slide there. This is the one that we should be on first, and this is the last video for this section. We are dividing rational expressions, and to divide we actually rewrite it as multiplication. So notice in the rule is we multiply by the reciprocal of the expression that follows the division symbol, and this is actually a common concept, just like it is whenever we work with fractions. And so we would do the same thing if we were just doing a simple fraction. If we were taking 3/4 divided by, say, 7/8, okay, so we would make that 3/4 times 8/7, and we would simplify. 4 goes into 8 2 times, and so that is 6/7. And so we really are using the very same concept, but with polynomials and expressions that are not just numbers. Okay, so first we just rewrite. So it's times. Don't forget to change your operation to a time sign. And then we will have 18 minus 9x over 14 minus 7x. Now we're going to just use the same process we did for multiplication. So we're going to rewrite this as 7, whoops, that's not what I want to do, times. Now in the numerator I can factor out a 9, and I'm not going to reverse the order on these because in the denominator it's written in the same order. So I'm going to take out a 9, and that leaves me 2 minus x. And then I have a 3, let's write that as 3 times x, times, in the denominator I can factor out a 7 of the 14 minus 7x, and that's 2 minus 1x. And then I can remove my common factors. Okay, so I have a 7, right? 7 divided by 7 is 1. And then 3 goes into 9 3 times. And then 2 minus x equals 1, because those are in common. And so my answer is simply 3 over x, or 3 divided by x, however you want to say that. All right, so rewrite as multiplication, factor, remove common factors, and that's it. Yeah. Okay, oh, multiply what's left. That would be a good idea. Okay, so let's work on this next one. There's different ways to go about this, you know, on how you set this up and write it out, but always first rewrite as multiplication. Times a minus 2 over 3ab squared. So remember, we have to rewrite it as multiplying by the reciprocal of whatever expression follows your division symbol. Okay, so on this one, I don't need to factor a whole lot, but I'll do some factoring. So on the 6, I'm going to make that a 2 times 3. I'm going to make it a times a times a minus 2. And then in the denominator, I'm going to factor the a squared minus 4. That's a difference of squares. And then that's times 3 times a times b squared. Now notice I didn't factor the b squared as b times b. Oh, I left the b squared out of the numerator. Let's go back. Times b squared times, sometimes I get to talking and I forget something. Okay, now I think I will put parentheses around that. That would be good. Now on this, I'm going to remove the common factors. And like I said, I was saying it, left the b squareds the way they were because they both had a b squared in the numerator and the denominator. So it's nice to just leave that together. All right, so notice I have a 3 All right, common factor of 3. I have a common factor of a. I have a common factor of b squared and a common factor of a minus 2. And so my answer ends up being 2a over a plus 2. Right? And then we are finished with that. All right. And I believe this is the last. Okay, so I have a blank slide again. And now I don't have a blank slide. Awesome, it came back. Maybe I just wasn't waiting long enough. All right, so first we rewrite as multiplication. Okay, well, it seems to be doing some weird things, so I'm going to pause for just a minute. Okay, so I paused that. Hopefully it took care of some of the glitchy stuff that was going on. Sometimes that just happens when you're working with all this technology. So remember, I'm rewriting this as multiplication. I have to write the reciprocal, so I flip it. Okay. Then I'm going to start factoring. Now, I do have a common factor in this denominator, so I'm going to save myself a little bit of a step here by factoring it like this. And then I can go ahead and factor everything on this. Okay. So x squared minus 4, we just factored that on the previous question. So x minus 2 times x plus 2. And then x squared plus 4x plus 4 factors as x plus 2 times x plus 2, right? Factors of 4 that have a sum of 4 are both going to be positive 2. 3x minus 6 will be 3 times x plus 2. The common factor is 3. I still have this 2. And then this is also a perfect square trinomial, which factors as x minus 2 times x minus 2. On that, you can just use, factors of positive 4 that have a sum of negative 4, and that would be negative 2 times negative 2. Now it's time to remove all of our common factors. Right, so we have x minus 2, we have x plus 2, and it looks like that's it. Nothing else will simplify, and so we are going to end up with all right, so x plus 2 times x plus 2, I'm going to write that as x plus 2 squared, and then in the denominator it's 6 times x minus 2. And that is as simple as we can go. All right. So that's all of the lesson for the different concepts. Remember, we had domain, simplifying, multiplying, dividing. Oh, and we had a little bit of function evaluation thrown in as well. Finding the value of a function. So I will be done with this now. And I hope this has been helpful.